Welcome to our top 10 boss fights in Black Myth Wukong, where we break down the most intense, grueling, and rewarding battles this game has to offer. After conquering all the bosses, we've ranked them from the ones that pushed us to our limits to the ones that left us trembling in awe. With at least one boss from each chapter, you'll get a complete picture of the best challenges across the entire game. Number 10, Whiteclad Noble. This boss is a perfect early game reality check that'll make you question every gaming decision you've ever made. You think you're about to celebrate victory. You're feeling that sweet adrenaline of success after finally taking him down. Then bam! Cutscene, full health bar, and guess what? A second phase with a tail. It took me an hour to beat his first phase, and I was ready to smash my controller when I saw him stand back up. And if you're anything like me, this boss is going to hit harder than a truck. But it's not just about brute force, it's about endurance. You'll have to get through that first phase without using all your resources, just perfect dodges and patience. The first phase is a warm-up, but the second phase? That's where the Whiteclad Noble shines as one of the most punishing bosses in Black Myth Wukong. Now, for some people, this boss might not be that tough, but if you're like me and walked into this game expecting something more like God of War, you're in for a rude awakening. This fight is early on, and there's no way around it. He's a non-skippable wall that will test your patience and your ability to read attack patterns. The fact that you're still learning the ropes of the game at this point makes this boss a serious challenge, especially for those new to this style of gameplay. You can't just hack away and hope for the best. It's about learning his damn moves, executing perfect dodges, and keeping your cool. You might want to start thinking about upgrading your Immobilize and Red Tide's transformation early because they're crucial. The satisfaction of finally beating him is unreal. But that second phase? It's a slap in the face, but it's the kind of slap that makes this game unforgettable. If you're new to games that require patience and learning enemy attack patterns, this boss will push you to your limits. Number 9, Yellow Wind Sage. This boss doesn't just throw challenging mechanics at you. He warps the whole battlefield into an overwhelming storm of chaos, making him worthy of the number 9 spot. The tornadoes alone are enough to make you want to toss your controller, and his constant vanishing into the sandstorm only adds to the frustration. He forces you to stay on the move while keeping track of his erratic attack patterns, making the whole fight feel like a relentless endurance test. However, there is something that can make this fight a little more manageable: the Wind Tamer. This item temporarily makes you immune to his wind attacks and stuns him for a short period, which can be a real lifesaver, especially toward the end of the fight when those tornadoes become nearly impossible to avoid. The problem? Figuring out how to get the Wind Tamer isn't straightforward. It's tied to a side quest involving the drunk pig in Act 2, and it's easy to miss if you're not actively exploring every corner of the game. Many players will end up fighting the Yellow Wind Sage without even knowing this item exists, making the battle way harder than it needs to be. So while the Wind Tamer does make the fight slightly easier, it's not something the game throws in your face. If you manage to snag it, great, you've got a fighting chance. But if you go into this fight blind, without it, you'll be stuck in one of the most frustrating battles Black Myth Wukong has to offer, and that's what makes this boss truly deserving of his place in the top 10. Number 8, Tiger Vanguard. If there's one boss that feels like a relentless test of your reaction speed, it's Tiger Vanguard. This guy is an absolute beast, and he more than earns his spot on this list for the way he relentlessly pressures you with non-stop aggression. For me, it felt like I was fighting a rabid animal. There's barely a second to breathe, and his fast, heavy attacks will have you scrambling to time your dodges perfectly. What makes this fight so difficult is his unrelenting attack pattern. He doesn't let up, constantly bombarding you with rapid strikes and flurries that are tough to dodge. And the windows for punishing him? They're razor thin. Miss a dodge, and you're done for. Even seasoned players have trouble with him because he punishes overcommitting and button mashing harshly. It's a fight where you need to have precise control over your movements and not get greedy with your attacks. Adding to the difficulty is how well he mixes up his timing. Some of his attacks come out fast, while others are heavily delayed, making it hard to predict what's coming next. You'll be dodging on instinct half the time, trying to stay alive long enough to figure out his rhythm. And if you're anything like me, you'll be seeing that death screen more times than you care to admit. But what makes Tiger Vanguard deserving of his spot isn't just his difficulty. It's the level of skill and patience he forces you to develop. The fight feels like a punishing dance, where you have to weave in and out of his onslaught while maintaining perfect timing. Mastering this boss is a rite of passage. By the time you finally take him down, you'll have a newfound appreciation for the mechanics of the game. This boss shows no mercy, and that's why he's such a memorable and well-deserved challenge. Number 7. Scorpion Lord. This guy is an absolute monster, and the fact that he's an optional boss only adds to his legend. Scorpion Lord isn't just a fight. He's a relentless punishment of everything you thought you knew about this game. What makes him so difficult is that he ramps up his aggression to insane levels, especially when he's down to his last sliver of health. You think you've got him, then suddenly he goes berserk, and your carefully laid out strategy is waffle-stomped into oblivion. Why is he so overpowered? For starters, his hitboxes feel like they were designed by a sadist. Even when you think you're out of range, he somehow manages to land a hit. The end of the fight is particularly brutal, as his attacks become relentless, with almost no room to breathe or recover. His combos hit hard, fast, and in such quick succession that dodging every single one is borderline impossible. You'll get him down to a fraction of health, but his final stretch feels like an entirely new fight where he just doesn't let up. What makes it worse is that even the best strategies can feel like a gamble. Maxing out clones, immobilizing him, and spamming attacks will get him close to death, but it's never quite enough. The sheer amount of times you'll find yourself so close to victory only to get demolished is infuriating. He's not just difficult, he's a test of willpower, and he doesn't care how many times you've bested the other bosses. If you're not absolutely perfect in the final moments, he'll make you pay. Scorpion Lord deserves this spot because he's the epitome of a fight where the margin for error is almost non-existent. His relentless aggression, unfair hitboxes, and brutal final phase will push even the most seasoned players to the breaking point. And for an optional boss, he feels way more challenging than most of the mandatory ones, which is why he's one of the most unforgettable and frustrating encounters in Black Myth Wukong. Number 6. Bishui Golden-Eyed Beast. This boss is pure frustration wrapped in flame and ice. Bishui Golden-Eyed Beast quickly earns the title of one of the most brutal bosses in the game, and not in the good, rewarding way. Everything about this fight feels like an unfair setup to just punish players. The cramped arena, the insane status effects, and the camera going rogue make this an absolute nightmare. Why is this boss so tough? First, the arena is a trap. The moment you realize that the ground is basically going to be on fire or ice for half the fight, you know you're in for a bad time. If you don't know about the alternate area where you can get some breathing room, you'll end up fighting him in what feels like an active volcano, with fire spewing everywhere and little room to move. The environment feels hostile enough to fight without the boss being there, and then he just comes in swinging with massive combos that give you almost no chance to punish. The worst part? His massive health pool and insane damage output. You feel like you're fighting a tank that moves like a jet, and by the time you've found an opening to attack, he's already prepped for another onslaught. If you don't time everything perfectly, you'll find yourself getting crushed over and over. And don't even get me started on the camera and tracking issues. Half the time, you're fighting both the boss and the game itself. If you get too close to the walls or in any tight spots, the camera freaks out, leaving you wide open for an attack. What makes this fight even worse is that it's not intuitive. You're supposed to guide him to melt the ice and open up another arena, but figuring that out isn't exactly obvious. A lot of players miss this completely, making the battle unnecessarily harder. The fact that you could spend hours fighting him in the wrong arena and getting obliterated without knowing there's a much easier way is just infuriating. The Bishui Golden-Eyed Beast is a relentless challenge, and while some players may enjoy the pain, most will find this boss to be a huge roadblock in their progression. The fight isn't just about skill, but about enduring constant frustration, which is why it earns its spot at number 6. Number 5. Hundred-Eyed Taoist Master. This fight is an absolute nightmare, and it almost feels like it's designed to mentally break you. The constant teleporting, the insane movement, and the relentless attacks make it one of the most exhausting encounters I've faced. The worst part? His hitboxes are janky as hell. You're right up next to him, swinging for your life, and somehow your attacks just whiff through the air. It's frustrating beyond belief. When he enters his second phase, things get even worse. His attacks become almost impossible to read, and he's zipping around the arena like a ninja on steroids. You can't get a rhythm going because he's constantly switching up his moves. It's not just hard, it's demoralizing. Now let's talk about the Weaver's Needle. Without this side quest item, the fight feels downright unfair. It counters his domain attack in the second phase, but if you miss the quest or don't know it exists, good luck, because this fight will absolutely destroy you. Even when you do have the needle, it still feels like a brutal endurance test, and it doesn't magically fix the janky hitboxes or his relentless assault. Honestly, this fight made me question why I was even playing. It was a grind, not just for health bars, but for sanity. That's why Hundred-Eyed Taoist Master sits comfortably at number 5. He's tough, cheap, and will push you to the edge, needle or not. Number 4. Yin Tiger. Let me tell you why this fight made me want to put my controller through a wall. Yin Tiger is just next-level absurd with his relentless onslaught of abilities. I'm talking iframes, huge AoE attacks that hit like a truck, constant dodging, and what feels like an unlimited stamina bar. This tiger is playing by a different set of rules, and it shows. From the start, you're on the defensive. Yin Tiger darts around the arena like a hyperactive ghost, pulling off multi-hit combos that leave you no room to breathe. He's constantly in your face, and his massive, wide-reaching AoE attacks mean there's no safe spot to hide. You can't just back up and get a breather. His attacks will find you. And when you think you've got him down, he comes back with a vengeance. Those 5-hit combos? They aren't just dangerous, they're straight up unfair. Miss one dodge, and you'll be watching your health bar vanish in seconds. What really grinds my gears is how he's protected by invisible walls, so you're basically locked in a cage with him. No chance to reposition or use the environment to your advantage. Just you, him, and an arena of pain. Every time you find an opening to strike, it's like the game says, "Nope, try again," as Yin Tiger recovers instantly and throws even more ridiculous moves your way. And that's the thing. His moveset is not just difficult, it's overpowered. He has too many tools that make the fight feel more like survival than a test of skill. It's not about mastering a rhythm or learning patterns. It's about scrambling to survive while the boss gets away with murder. This fight doesn't feel like a fair challenge. It's frustrating, punishing, and leaves you with that sinking feeling of, am I even supposed to win this? I get that some people love a tough fight, but this one feels like it's stacked against you in a way that's more infuriating than fun. If the game wanted to break you, Yin Tiger is the boss that'll do it. Number 3, Yellow Lung, the electrifying nightmare. Yellow Lung is the definition of frustration fast fight, turned into a boss fight. This monstrous lightning-infused dragon brings the heat with relentless combos, insane attack variety, and enough AoE shockwaves to make you rethink every move you make. If you fought him, you know, once you hit that final 10% of his health bar, things go from bad to worse, real quick. The fight starts off manageable. You can poke at him with your standard light and heavy attacks, maybe even throw in some immobilizing spells to get a breather. But the moment you chip away at his health, the gloves come off. His electro jumps turn the arena into a deadly dance floor, and if you miss one dodge, it's game over. Not to mention, Lung's mobility is wild. He's constantly darting across the screen, leaving you scrambling just to keep up. The last phase is where Yellow Lung truly earns his spot as one of the toughest bosses in the game. His attacks come at lightning speed, pun intended, and his unpredictable combos mean you have to stay focused and reactive at all times. Just when you think you've learned his pattern, he changes it up, throwing in another surprise move or a multi-hit combo that wrecks your health bar. What makes this fight so memorable isn't just the difficulty, it's the adrenaline rush. When you're on your last bit of health, dodging those final electro jumps, hoping to land the killing blow, that's when Yellow Lung makes you feel like you've truly earned the victory. He's the boss that pushes you to your limit and makes you work for every inch of progress. Number 2, the Great Sage's Broken Shell, a battle of endurance. This is the one boss that stands as a testament to your stamina and resilience. The Great Sage's Broken Shell isn't just a fight, it's a multi-phase marathon designed to break your will. And if you're thinking the journey to victory will be straightforward, you're dead wrong. The fight's got everything from relentless attacks to perfectly timed dodges and even a surprise second phase that'll make your heart sink. The Broken Shell feels like a final exam where the difficulty spikes out of nowhere, even if you've been cruising through the game. The first phase isn't so bad. You can chip away at him with focused charged attacks and keep your distance. But as soon as you hit the second phase, things escalate. His attacks become more erratic, his movement unpredictable, and the window for dodging becomes razor thin. Most players find themselves using everything in their toolkit: cloud steps, transformations, and any spell that could buy them a few seconds to breathe. The toughest part? That 50% health mark in the second phase. He goes full beast mode, countering most of your attempts at offense and turning the fight into an all-out battle of patience. One wrong move can cost you the entire run. What makes this fight memorable is the sheer grind of it. You're not just fighting the Great Sage's Broken Shell, you're battling against fatigue and frustration. The arena is his playground, where he feels invincible, while you're just trying to survive. But once you finally master his patterns, land that last hit, and watch him fall, you'll feel a surge of victory that's unmatched by any other boss in the game. Number 1, Erlang Shen, the ultimate test of skill. Choosing between Erlang Shen and the Great Sage's Broken Shell was tough, but Erlang Shen takes the top spot for one key reason: pure difficulty. While the Great Sage strips you of your relics in the second phase, Erlang Shen doesn't play games from the start. He pushes you to your limits with all your abilities intact, turning every moment into a grueling test of reflexes and tactics. Erlang Shen is not just a boss. He's a relentless, multi-phase nightmare. His moveset is fast, varied, and punishing. Shields, lasers, and his devastating spear attacks keep you on your toes throughout the battle. What makes this fight even more intense is that there's no easy phase. Every health bar drop means new attacks, new moves, and new ways to get annihilated if you're not prepared. But here's the kicker. Once you manage to whittle his health down, it only gets worse. Each stagger bar requires careful planning and timing. Whether it's using the fan vessel to break through his shields or transforming with the azure dust to maximize your damage, every decision counts. His final health bar is a true endurance test, where even a small mistake can cost you the entire fight. This fight isn't about using every trick in the book, it's about mastering them. Erlang Shen doesn't respect your spells or combos. You have to learn his every move, be patient, and execute your strategy flawlessly. And that's why he ranks at the top. It's a single-phase fight, but it demands perfection. When you finally take down this godlike warrior, the satisfaction is unreal. You've proven yourself against one of the hardest bosses in the game, and the sense of achievement is unmatched. And there you have it, the top 10 boss fights in Black Myth Wukong, with Erlang Shen reigning supreme as the ultimate challenge. If you've made it this far, you know the level of dedication and skill it takes to overcome these epic encounters. Let me know in the comments which boss gave you the most trouble, or if you think another boss deserves that number 1 spot. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring the bell for more awesome gaming content. Stay tuned for more tips, strategies, and breakdowns of the toughest fights in gaming. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.